This NFL season, we'll be handing out a whole lot more big checks.
They sold it as a get-rich-now game.
Just choose a league, pick your team, and get your cash winnings after Monday night.
Last fall, FanDuel and DraftKings aired a commercial every 90 seconds on American television. Their message was irresistible. If you play daily fantasy for money, you'll likely win and win big.
Dream come true, baby.
Daily fantasy's meteoric rise was breathtaking. In only a few years, the two industry leaders, FanDuel and DraftKings, became the billion-dollar darlings of the major American sports leagues, media companies, and a bench of deep-pocketed investors.
It was very much a high-growth, exciting industry that everyone seemed to want to be a part of. And then all of a sudden, there were some real low moments, too.
As quickly as it boomed, the industry bottomed. Just a year after peaking in value, both companies are still not profitable, and wildly optimistic growth projections have been curtailed.
The last, 5-6 years have been a massive roller coaster.
Outside the Lines has found that FanDuel and DraftKings' troubles were triggered in part by a toxic combination of hubris, ignorance, and recklessness, as the bitter rivals all but dared the authorities to shut their games down over concerns they constituted illegal gambling. The companies promoted themselves as a means to get rich quick when they knew nearly all players were losing money. They failed to move aggressively against big bankroll players who dominated newer players, sometimes with predatory behavior and technological advantages. And they allowed their employees to play on rival sites despite having access to proprietary data.
And I feel the mistakes we made maybe were, errors of over-enthusiasm, of feeling we can get further faster. Maybe we try to be too aggressive, but I think those are kind of the right mistakes to make.
I can always look back and say, hey, I wish we had done this differently or that differently, but I think the important thing is that we learned very much.
How will you celebrate your big win this season?
All told, the companies spent a combined $750 million last year on the endless run of bro-tastic daily fantasy commercials and other promotions, making the industry the butt of jokes, but also raising questions that would pressure it in important and threatening ways. Was daily fantasy really just illegal sports gambling? And was the promise of winning big money too good to be true?
In hindsight, I really regret that we presented ourselves in that way. I can see why maybe somebody wasn't familiar with the category and all of a sudden all they see is these ads and they're thinking, hey, is this a scam? I totally get it.
Turns out that a very small percentage of people win consistently. You knew that, yet decided some of the messaging was going to be about big jackpots and big winning. Is there a contradiction there? Was there a disconnect there?
No, so fantasy sports definitely is a skill game. Anybody who's played that will tell you. They'll also tell you very typically there's one or two people in their league who are very good at it and it's tough competing against those guys, but you still play.
But it's more than just having better skills. For years, customers complained that the higher volume players, who primarily make up the tiny percentage of players who win consistently, were quietly extended perks and technological advantages by the sites that help some of them dominate newer players.
What we've done over the last couple of years is focus a lot on sort of fairness and ability for new players to come in, but we do need to do a better job there.
The mea culpas offered by Robbins and Eccles come after the widespread criticism that their companies allowed their own employees to play on rival sites while having access to odds-improving proprietary data. In October, a DraftKings employee named Ethan Haskell won $350,000 on a big-money NFL contest at rival site FanDuel. His victory drew complaints that he accessed data that regular players could not.
I will bet you that if you took a poll, a lot of people would remember the allegations about Haskell, but not the facts that disprove the allegation. And so you're hard-pressed to ever totally recover from something like that.
The industry felt the impact quickly. New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman had read about the Haskell victory and decided to investigate both companies. He reached a quick conclusion.
It clearly, once we started looking into it, violated New York's constitutional and statutory provisions against gambling.
In November, Schneiderman issued the two companies cease and desist letters, accusing them of being leaders of a massive multi-billion-dollar scheme intended to evade the law and fleece sports fans across the country. Attorneys general from other states followed suit, and the threat of widespread legal action had become a reality.
This is not some new version of traditional fantasy sports. This is just a new version of online gambling.
For years, lobbyists and consultants had warned FanDuel and DraftKings to seek legal clarity in state houses that daily fantasy is a skill-based game and not illegal gambling. But those concerns were largely neglected until last fall, when the companies were suddenly forced to spend tens of millions of dollars on legal and lobbying expenses.
It was just very hard to appreciate how big that onslaught became, right? Had to be prepared somewhat, yes. We did have lobbyists working in a number of states. We had thought through things like self-regulation, how that would look, but we hadn't nearly invested enough as we should have if we'd known what was coming.
We had a lot of discussions about it, and we're in the process of collaborating on it, and everything just kind of moved too quickly.
Now the companies are doing a makeover. They are emphasizing the social side of the game rather than its jackpot potential. DraftKings and FanDuel have introduced leagues, and FanDuel redesigned its website and introduced a new slogan, Sports Rich. The site now sells the camaraderie, the excitement, the thrill of playing daily fantasy with your friends. And as their PR campaign notes, none of them have anything to do with money.
There's the whole social element, which is a huge aspect of why people play FanDuel. Those are going to be much deeper in our emphasis this year.
We've done a lot of research, and winning money is maybe like reason 4 or 5 that people play. The main reasons they play are they enjoy the thrill of competition, they like doing things with their friends, and I think that we did ourselves and did the industry a disservice by making it really all about that in the way that we were presenting our company and our brand, and I think that had created some of the perception issues out there.